This series is one of the most dark-sided series I've seen on WEBTOON. Like, oh my god!
Dark-sided!
Very driven plot. College student Hano is starting a new life, and we open up to her with friends, shopping for lingerie for this girl we don't really ever see, like, ever again. They banter about dark-sided activities with hand sizes and Hano's character is supposed to be extremely clueless and blissfully unaware, as her only real desire is a first kiss. And they don't really break it down for her. One of her friends offers her to go on a group date to spread her wings and fly, and magically divulge in the topic of who are the hottest guys at the university. Mitchell is considered a celebrity, people even taking pictures of him, as creepy as that sounds. This group conveniently runs into Mitchell as the MC is saying he's not as hot as JAHEUI. His character is pretty much very bold, loud, and bullish. Turns out these two main characters have been friends for like 20 years. Polar opposite, but similar interests, and they're supposed to be inseparable. The whole essence of this story is that they're going to be together. Me personally, if you're a friend, you're not moving out of that space, girl. After an argument showcasing their dynamics about just having dinner, we are introduced to JAHEUI. Is this a safe space? One of Hano's first assignments in her class is the toughest freshman assignment, and JAHEUI offers a put-together film recommendation on a USB drive. Hopefully, this doesn't bite anybody in the knowing the drive of the story. They go back to his place to get this said USB drive, and she's absolutely disgusted with his living space. Personally, I don't care. That's the difference between me and her. Give me a broom, I'll make something work. Their entire dynamic is a weird friendship. She's into him, me when I hold the coffee cup of embarrassment. But Hano notices that JAHEUI has big hands and thinks back to what her friend told her earlier. Very dark-sided.
Dark-sided!
She didn't understand what that meant, but after she tells him he has very big hands, JAHEUI notices that his ring finger is longer than his index, and she runs out and loses it, extremely confused. She is now hell-bent on figuring out what the hell that means. Now, the average local person could simply go on Google, but she just needs to go to Mitchell's dorm for his confirmation. And I guess instead of knocking, because you know privacy is a thing that everybody should have, she slams open his door. And he was, well, burping the worm, tickling the pickle. You get what I mean. Obviously, insane. Not doing that, that's completely natural. Invading someone's privacy is insane. I think I probably have to spoon my eyes out if I saw my friend doing this. But the actual insane thing about this isn't that. He's rubbing it out while her picture is on the screen. That's the hook of the story. Apparently, in actuality, is a bit of a misunderstanding with Mitchell, but the following episode we get another point of view, but this time from Mitchell, and he's sent by his roommate. I don't know anybody. What the f is wrong with some of y'all? I'm sorry, but no. I would not do some like that with my friend. Actually, hold on. Trust me, I was thrown off too. When Hano was stomping her way to his dorm, what we didn't see was that she texted him like a dozen times, and he opened it trying to ignore her and noticed her profile picture changed, mentally policing her for not wearing a sizable top. He's really sorry, like so sorry to a point that he bursts out crying. Hano is still kind of like freaked out and embarrassed and just wants to leave, further bothered of the fact that he was crying, and that's just so out of character for him. And she just can't help but stop thinking about it. Even later in one of her college classes, she decides to ask her friend a hypothetical question without telling anyone's name, subjecting her friend to this torture. Her friend just says, well, you could have just looked that up. And Hano gains a brain cell and realizes, well, shit, everything that just happened could have been easily avoided. This is a lot of the story, but honestly, sometimes I enjoy a little bit of a pointless problem. Minji, her friend, spots Mitchell, and Hano starts chasing after him to apologize. We get briefly cut off by her laying on top of him by this one episode, conveniently hot and sweaty, promising to be bosom friends. For a couple of chapters, it is a trend that we get something very dark-sided ending, alluding to something possibly happening. So then we get another rewind, and she's chasing after him while they're both shouting at each other, why are they running? And she runs into a guy with coffee. Pointless shot. Some random guy, I don't know, I might bring him up later because he looks pretty similar to another character that's kind of just in there, or I have poor judgment skills. But Mitchell stops running and takes her to a classroom to find something she could change in. She's wondering why she's there. I am too. Mama, a weirdo's behind you. He didn't want her to walk to her dorm in that wet shirt, and she simply says, you could have just let me borrow your bag. Simple problem, simple solution. She takes her shirt off, but she realizes, oh, he's here, I'm way too comfortable, and tells him not to turn around, and he proceeds to turn around. No. But another friend of Micho walks in and asks if he wants to go get drinks, and he tries to force him out because she's in there naked. Once he rushes him out, he looks for her as she was hiding in some kind of locker, but as he's laughing at her, he calls her Miss Piggy because she's stuck, and for some reason can't help but stare at her. Oh my god, I'm stuck in the washing machine. He pulls her out and she topples over him, thus basically what we saw earlier, and someone's trying to enter the room, but her tutor tater-totters somehow are now hugging his face, and when she realizes this, they are now both freaking out, but now he's trying to hide his face because he's so embarrassed of what just happened, and his shirt just magically lifts and she notices his four-piece abs. She has a random thump in her chest and she finally gets off of him, and he makes a remark about how thick can she get. You know, I can't tell if he's trying to fat shame her or make another joke. Whatever the case may be, I guess this is the turning point where she realizes she might be into him in a sense. He throws a shirt on her, claiming she's really clumsy. She takes the moment to finally apologize for leaving after walking in on him, but also wanted the awkwardness between them to stop. It obviously does not stop, and it's all kind of cool in that moment until he walks in on her. No, I'm kidding. We flash forward to later, and Hano can't stop thinking about what happened this time to the point she has to stand up and slap herself. Is that a Life is Strange reference? Oh my god! And in order to stop these demonic, demented, dark-sided thoughts, Hano decides to call her friend and decides to go on a group date. Flash forward, we learn she has no fashion sense on this group date. This group date being one of the worst things that could happen. She's forcing herself not to think of Micho, but then proceeds to get asked about him by this group. And now she can't stop thinking about him f***ing off. Ketchup bottle? Euphemism. Mustard? Euphemism. Brain rotted. While this happens, Micho was contacting her to hang out. Turns out he actually works at the restaurant and they're now there. He gives her a soda, they're outside. She's like, why didn't you tell me you worked here? He's like, well, why are you embarrassed that I caught you being girly? And notices she's wearing makeup. And it's like, we all have people we playfully banter with, but my god, every moment, it's like he just takes a moment to call her some kind of like fat or something. Like, I don't get it. Now, while this is going on, enter this person. I never caught his name. I don't know if that was the same person from earlier with the coffee. At the table of irrelevance, they're gossiping about Micho and JAHEUI, basically the hottest guys of the university, and he makes it a point to say, oh, JAHEUI has a double life, and talks about him. Did anybody actually ask him? No, my man knows where home is. We don't know what the rumor is, but basically we get like some kind of thing implying that, I don't know, I guess he was sleeping with a or something, when that isn't the case at all. Dark-sided. He asks if they could go out dating. She says yes. I'm not sure if this was not to think of Micho and she just did it off of impulse, but we cut back to his place and she's trying to figure out, how do I get to know this guy? What do people do on dates? And she just decides she's gonna work on her assignment while she's there. Do you recall that hard drive? I do. She pops it in her laptop and he offers to watch it with her. Oh my god, pop quiz! What do you think is gonna happen? A, the actual movie. B, a dissertation being presented on how Castle Swimmer is the best series since sliced bread. Or C, if you guessed B, you are absolutely wrong. It's oh my god! But you have my respect if you did pick B. I swear to god, I'm gonna be like the oldest like 30 talking about how Castle Swimmer was the good old days. As awkward as this moment is, it can in fact get even more awkward. As she keeps trying to open up something else, more opens and makes eye contact with him, and he decides, you know what? Let me go in for a kiss. Who thinks that? They ain't even a couple yet. She stops it. She runs out because she realizes maybe he thinks she's easy and he chases after her. One would hope he would apologize, but instead tries to pressure her to be physical and proceeds to grab her wrist, trying to manipulate her into a kiss, but JAHEUI pops up, thankfully, to intervene in the situation. But this guy keeps saying that that's his girlfriend. JAHEUI manages to deceive him and they flee. JAHEUI is like, I'm super oblivious, and is seen as an angel by the main character, and to be fair, I understand they're trying to introduce him as some kind of possible love triangle there, a situationship, especially with the whisper at the end of like, oh, I'll try to be cooler with my next move, after a whole confession of how Hano dreams of her first kiss, but I don't particularly see it happening. She's head over heels. I feel like he sees her in like a sister sense, you know? Skipping ahead, Hano gets a message from Micho that he has food, and she spots a hard drink. She's like, let's try it. And this is, well, the end of chapter 8. But pertaining to chapter 9, shit like that is when it actually starts to get freaky very quickly. But it's around this part where the concerns probably arise about things being removed. Micho invites her to eat and they end up drinking. By this point of the story, when I initially read it, I thought they were jumping to drinking, started saying random shit, and they're like, oh, let me touch you. Are you okay? Bloody nose. Ah, ooh, ah, and just deadpan staring and absolutely nothing happening. I'm gonna pretend she didn't lick the blood off of him. That's freaky. And they were about to have a whole moment, but they had no condom, so it was a no-go. And she just wakes up and they act like nothing happened, as one would expect. But turns out something completely went down in that episode, and by like episode 13, they're actually doing it. And it's so funny too, because again, it's cut out, so it's like, it's literally just them staring at nothing and then themselves silently saying, wow, again. And it's so crazy because the whole focus of her trying to have a magical first kiss is just completely tossed, and we're just jumping to like third base, but pretty much that's where it is. Yes, elephant in the room. This was brought over. There were some changes and removals to some very heavy parts. I haven't read the original, so I really don't know. I just got word of mouth. I mean, I'm not gonna sit up here and act like I wasn't looking forward to it. You know, if you're gonna make your series, you know, very driven by that plot, you know, I don't know, it better be good. But it was brought to my attention that something did happen by like chapter 12, and I just thought they didn't do anything at that point. But no, I mean, I'm okay without seeing any scenes and just kind of like having clarification. Unless it's with JAHEUI, then we may have a problem. However, the story is more hilariously stupid to me. I did enjoy the entirety of JAHEUI's existence and how stupid some of the problems were. I just think it's a light read. I'm a little curious where this story will go now though, because they've already gotten to the other side of the line before like the 15th chapter. So I'm curious if there's supposed to be a love triangle developing with JAHEUI or just mutual kinship, because that seems to be a big point they wanted to make. Like, is it just gonna end up like a, oh my god, that's my friend, that should probably stay my friend, oh, but now we're having sex, since that seems to be the whole thing of this story. I don't think I have enough really to dive too much into the characters individually and their dynamics, but all in all, really, this series is just, I can't take it too seriously. Maybe because of the main steering point, I don't know. Anyways, leave a like, subscribe, bye bye.